The policy response to the COVID-19 pandemic has been hotly debated in EU capitals since spring 2020. A shared solution materialised into a rescue package 5 times larger than the Marshall Plan, with the aim of providing relief and increasing the resilience of EU economies. Will that be enough? Euronews discussed the question with senior politicians from Austria, Slovakia and the Czech Republic at the Globsec 2021 conference in Bratislava.
Let me start with asking you on the Recovery and Resilience Facility. Of course, there's been so much debate over it. And do you think, Chancellor, let's start with you, do you think it will be enough to jumpstart this recovery and the economies?
Yes, I think that it will be enough, and I would also say it has to be enough. You know that we think that it was necessary to invest a lot of money to kickstart the economy. But we would have not agreed to a permanent debt union, and we do not want to repeat it several times. We think that it was a tool necessary at this time, but nothing we should repeat quite often.
Would you say that now there is less skepticism?
Yes, there is less skepticism because we agreed on numbers, we agreed on a wider package, including rule of law and other criteria. We agreed that there should be a main focus on investment in digitalization and also in green economy, which makes our economies more resilient and also more powerful. And last but not least, we also agreed that it is a single tool and that it is not a permanent debt union, which was for us the most important point.
Prime Minister Hager, what's your take on that? Would that be enough? And what are some of the cornerstones of national strategies in your case?
Okay, if we want to invest a lot of money out of the government pockets and increase the debt, we have to have the investments into or linked with the reforms. So, because we know the reforms are the ones that bring the healthy public finances, so that must be going hand in hand in order to prevent a further growth of the debt, rather having instruments where the debt could later on be decreased by helping the economies to grow. So, and therefore the pension reform, tax reform, education reforms, and it depends from country to country, but the element of reforms must be discussed, I think, every time we speak about this package of the money, because if we don't conduct the reforms, we invest the money, but it won't have such impact as it should be.
Deputy Prime Minister.
Even before the crisis, in the Czech Republic, we defined the new priorities. We completely changed the priorities at the level of Czech Republic, and we start to invest into the research development. No more land of stories, but as a country for the future, we would like to present the Czech Republic and promote the Czech Republic no more as a country of the cheap beer, as a beautiful countryside and the Charles Bridge, but as a country of the knowledge, innovation, science and university. And recovery and resilience plan is based on this innovation strategy. And the question, if it's enough, from our point of view, the amount, it's enough.
We have received a few questions, and I would like to bring the first of those questions to our speakers. What are visions of our speakers on how political solidarity across European societies will accompany the economic reforms that are already highlighted? Prime Minister?
After the pandemic, we feel that the people are tired out of what they've been locked down. They've been going through a crisis. We had to help as the governments, but we cannot forget in the general debate that there are other places in the world where we have to help. And I think the solidarity in general, it's a word that we need to explain much more in general, even in the local politics. What I see in the past or over the past months or years, and I think it came with when we heard first time United States first, is this, I would say, selfishness. And I think it's very, very dangerous for the developed world to become selfish.
I totally share the vision of solidarity in the European Union, and I think all member states can agree on that. What we sometimes forget within the EU is that we compete with other parts of the world, with China, with the US, and many other countries. And if you look at the economic growth rates, we have to avoid that we become a museum with a high standard of living. And I think we always have to repeat and remind ourselves that the basis for solidarity, the basis for public investments, the basis for higher social standards is competitiveness and economic growth. And if we look, for example, at UK, of course, they had a very negative development last year, but this year they will have an economic growth rate of 7%, for example. If you look at China at the moment, there's enormous economic growth. So I think what we should focus on is solidarity, definitely, but we always have to remind ourselves that solidarity is possible if we are all 27 member states on their own and all united, successful.
But how to find that balance, how to be successful and as much as possible competitive when it comes to the global stage, but also not scale back that much on solidarity when it comes to the EU bloc?
It works together. You can do a great business and you can also support the social responsibility. Well, it's the same. So you have to balance it just from the point of view of the sustainable environment. And from my point of view, it's really great potential in the cooperation between the member states.
I have another question from the audience, from Jamie Prentice. At least 37% of total spending must be allocated towards the green transition. With such a strict guidance, how to make sure that the whole process doesn't become just a box-ticking exercise in some cases about making sure that it's enough when it comes to the green transition?
No, I don't think it's a ticking box. So it's just important, again, on what do we invest into within this framework. In some countries, it is well developed, so it's going to be easy to spend this percentage, and actually some of them will have even higher. In country like Slovakia, where in certain parts, I said, of Slovakia, we still kind of got stuck in time and we weren't able to invest enough into getting out of 20th century into the 21st. We had to really rethink what do we do and where do we spend it. But we went the direction toward the emissions decrease, and we also went into schemes for houses, where we know that a lot of families has bad condition houses with bad energy consumptions. So that's where we put a lot of this money into these schemes, because it decreases the emissions. It also helps the energy usage. So yeah, I think I don't see this as a ticking box.
The European Parliament had a survey showing Europeans want the EU to spend and invest more in health. Of course, this is something we all understand, having been through the pandemic. When it comes to Austria, most of the people said climate change and environmental protection. When it comes to the Czech Republic, economic recovery and new opportunities on businesses. When it comes to Slovakia, employment and social affairs. Would you comment on the results from your country?
I didn't know that, but sounds good, because it's what we what we do. So I'm happy if people are happy. We invest more than 40% of it in green transformation and about a bit more than 40% in digitalization. So that sounds quite okay. But I think for many people, this whole thing is still quite abstract. And so probably I'm not sure if there's really such a big gap between the member states, but I don't know the figures.
Thank you.
As you know, in the Czech Republic, it's quite, let's say, the specific economic environment, economic structure, because especially from the point of view of the energy sector, 60% of the central heating systems are based on coal. 45% of the electricity is based on the coal. That means that we have now to transfer all of these sources into the low-emission sources. It's extremely difficult way. We are starting now, and of course the future is in renewables, but also nuclear energy. And at the same time, we need the support from the European Union of the gas well in the next, maybe let's say 10, 15 years. The same is it in the industrial segment. Well, so we are one of the most industrialized country in Europe, in the top 3. And that means that we have to completely change the industrial segment and industrial infrastructure to the low emission technologies. Well, and the same is it in a transport. Well, the 20% of the emission in Czech Republic they are based on a segment of transports.
Premised.
We have investments into hospitals, into the healthcare, because we know that there is a great gap, and I think this is one of the reasons why the survey came as it came. But also a big amount of the money goes toward innovation. Reform plus really over 600 million euros goes toward innovations, because this is where we see the future. We are a very industrial country, automotive as we know, and we want to develop and build on this backbone of our economy into investments into innovations. And as I see the countries around as well, so it's a good foundation for future cooperation, which I very much look forward, and these are our great neighbors and friends as well. So that's why even despite of this survey, we had to invest into the future, which is very important for Slovakia.
I've got another survey for you.
All right.
According to the recent Eurobarometer results, 43% of Europeans are satisfied with measures taken so far by national governments to fight the pandemic. 43%. That sounds good. Could it be better? Of course it could be. My question is how to make sure that these funds and how to use those funds to increase that confidence and increase the trust towards national governments from the citizens.
I can only speak for our country, but of course the pandemic hit us hard. Of course it was terrible to see how many people lost their jobs. We have about 15% of our GDP dependent from tourism. This was terrible for many regions of Austria, and now even these sectors are coming back. Tourism is coming back. People get back into their jobs. So I think that we will have a very positive development in the next months and years. And the whole recovery fund is still in the planning status. So spending this money will help even more.
Thank you, Prime Minister.
43%, is it good, is it bad? Well, that's what it is. It should be better next time.
It's about that glass which is half full.
Yes, exactly. So the important thing is that we don't stop. We didn't, as I said, we're not finished. We're still thinking on how to live with the COVID for the upcoming period. Vaccination is very important. We know that we'll have to vaccinate the whole world if we really want to get rid of COVID. But definitely the level that we are, that we will be much better for the quality of life in Europe. So definitely move forward and not give up and not relax.
Thank you. We have a question there. Could we please go for the... Yes, could you stand up? And please keep it rather brief. There we go.
My question is about conditionalities. Are they only about structural reforms, or there should be, because the EU is a normative force also in the world, conditionalities related to rule of law when it comes to independent judiciary, free press, non-discrimination, LGBT rights, etc. What's your take on this? Thank you.
Chancellor.
Well, I share that. It was a big debate, and also one of the points we as frugal countries brought into debate, that rule of law has to be a basis if one member of the European Union wants to get a lot of money from other member states, which have to pay for that. And of course, as always in the EU, we had to find a compromise, so a bit more would have been good, but at least we agreed to something on rule of law, yeah.
I don't really see a reason for having such a condition in the conditions. On the other hand, we are a European Union, as I said, one of the best places to live. It's a democratic environment, and for us, rule of law is importance number one, because any democracy cannot grow in other environment other than in a state of where the rule of law is fully active. So therefore, I think this is a ground field, and if we see that there are some other views on it, it's definitely good to have a debate on it and try to understand what's behind it. But we have to also understand that European Union is a union of autonomic countries with their sovereignty. But for Slovakia, as you see, the current situation, rule of law, is really something that we want to build Slovakia into. We want to make Slovakia a solid democratic country with strong roots of rule of law.
So we have an opportunity, a great opportunity, to manage the plan as a European plan, not only as a plan of the particular country as well. And that's the power of this initiative, of this plan. And it's like in a business, in a balance sheet. As you know, on the left side, there are the assets. On the right side, there are the equity and liabilities.
Good afternoon. I greatly enjoy your presentations. My name is Jana Kritersova, professor at University of California. So we heard a lot about environment and innovation, but I'd like to hear more about your plans to address regional disparities, increasing wealth and income inequality, and sectoral inequalities. We know that some sectors were winners during the pandemic, like pharma industry, other sectors were losers. So if you can tell me a little bit about your plans to address these issues. Thank you.
Thank you for the question. Prime Minister, do you want to start?
Yes, the question of the winners and losers, yeah. This whole pandemic was definitely very asymmetric in this, and Slovakia as a country of industry, it helped us a lot to really not have such bad numbers. When at the beginning we expected that we're going to have a decrease in GDP almost 10%, and it ended up not even 5%. When you speak about the regional disparities, well, this is the challenge. I mean, honestly, I don't think there is a short answer to it, and I don't think there is a short solution to it. We have it in Slovakia for over 20 years, and every government was fighting for it, and at the end of the 20 years period, they realized it's even bigger. So I think infrastructure, definitely, education, and investments across the country, and really see specializations. I think that's very important as well, and go hand in hand or step by step.
Thank you.
The winners of the crisis, I would say, the digital companies and tech companies are definitively among the winners, and I think we should also find a way on a European level or beyond for a better taxation of these companies, and of course. What we also try to do is we want to bring as many people back into the jobs. So we invest 700 million euros in a small country with 9 million people in and upskilling programs, especially focused on long-term unemployed, to bring them into jobs again.
Thank you.
As you are evaluating the rate of unemployment, especially in the Central European countries. Well, in the Czech Republic, it's extremely low, I know. And the losers, of course, the retailers, small services. Well, that's the reason that we supported these segments extremely a lot of sources. We supported the segments of the small and medium enterprises, especially in the business field like services, restaurants, and small retailers. But we have to finish this support now and to start a new type of support based on investment support, based on innovation support, based on, let's say, the programs as guarantees, as loans and banking loans, guarantees, and to stop. We have to balance and manage also the labor market well.
Thank you so much. Thanks to all of the speakers for this session. Thanks for everybody participating here. Thank you.
Thank you.